All right, joining us more for this is Scott Lucas, who is Professor of International Politics, Clinton Institute, University College in Dublin, who joins us live. And also joining us is Giles Gibson, joining us from Rome on how Europe and the West is viewing this. I'll come to you first, Scott Lucas. Now, what are your thoughts about how this is panning out at the moment? And what is likely to happen in the days to come? People are calling this an intelligence failure, but many also believe this is a diplomatic failure at so many levels, considering just a few weeks ago we were talking about a Saudi-Israel normalization deal, which also said that there will be concessions for Palestine. Clearly, all of this has played out in the wrong way.
Well, I think what you've identified are the possible motives for Hamas's attack on Israel, and an attack which has two very significant differences from the previous cycles of violence, whether it be 2008, 2014, 2021. The first is that Hamas has not only attacked with rockets on this occasion, but has attacked on the ground, and for the first time has carried out mass killings of civilians, as well as hostage taking. And that's a significant escalation in tactics. The second big difference is that they have done it, it appears, with coordinated planning with Iran and possibly Hezbollah. Hamas and Hezbollah officials are now saying that these plans were developed since August, that they were approved last Monday in Beirut. Now, that is significant in that the Iranians, who of course publicly deny that they're involved with this attack, appear to in fact have been very much part of this decision to launch this assault on Israel. Now, the question arises is why? Why Hamas would attack at this point, why Iran would be involved. I think Hamas is trying to take advantage of what it sees as an opportunity with the domestic disruption in Israel under Prime Minister Netanyahu and his attempt to quash the Israeli courts. They have seen Netanyahu at odds with his own security establishment and with many other parts of the system. Iran's motive, you've just referred to it. Iran has been very concerned that Israel and Saudi Arabia would establish diplomatic relations, that they would have this normalization, as Israel has done with the UAE, with Bahrain. Iran tried to break that up by restoring its own relations with Saudi Arabia at the start of this year, but it did not stop the discussions. And so now it's decided to do so, working with Hamas by trying to disrupt and occupy Israel with the security situation for the future, at least the near term.
Right. Giles, I'd like to come to you at this moment also, as something is, the West has been preoccupied, Giles, at so many levels. If we can go to Giles from Rome, preoccupied with Ukraine, and we are seeing this as a fallout of that. And how is Europe and the West looking at this as domestic populations look at this, with some amount of war fatigue, both in America and in Europe as well?
Well, over the weekend we saw European leaders and indeed the European Union itself really falling over itself to show support to Israel, both symbolically and also in terms of the messages that they were delivering directly to the Israeli government. So we saw the Berlaymont building, which is the headquarters of the European Commission, being lit up over the weekend with the flag of Israel, with the blue and white flag, and similar sort of projections on the Eiffel Tower in Paris, for example. And those demonstrations of support also coming in terms of the messages that we got from European leaders. So Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, saying that the EU condemns those attacks from Hamas that we saw over the weekend, and also very clearly stating that Israel has the right to defend itself. We also saw similar messages of solidarity coming from the French President Emmanuel Macron and the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. So a real show of support, but I think also as we see the Israelis talking about a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, there will also be concern, perhaps behind closed doors, but certainly concern about the violence in that part of the world really spiraling out of control. So perhaps concerns about what the next phase of this, the response from the Israelis is going to look like exactly.
Right, and so far we've seen an overwhelming response. by Israel in Gaza, Scott Lucas, but also we are also seeing that the UNSC has no consensus on this. The Middle East is still regrouping on how to approach this latest escalation between Israel and the Hamas. So how do you see this?
Well, the UN Security Council, although it wasn't said openly, the reason why you didn't get a response condemning the violence on both sides was because of Russia. And of course, Russia has got skin in the game here, not in terms of backing Hamas's attack on Israel, but hoping that it's a distraction from Moscow's problems in Ukraine. In terms of where we go, I think you're going to see concerted discussions involving the US, involving European countries, involving other countries like India, to try to find a way to get both sides to step back, Hamas to step back from its mass killings, Israel to step back from its retaliation. As usual, I think there'll be efforts to try to use Egypt as a broker for talks to achieve a ceasefire. I think it will be very important to watch what the Gulf states do here. The Gulf states, of course, publicly have been supporters of Palestine in name, but to see if the Gulf states themselves will also condemn Hamas, in a sense, for taking this a stage further than we've been before. So you're going to see a lot of diplomacy and politics maneuvering over the next few days, hoping that we can avoid a further escalation in which you'll have a spike in civilian casualties on both sides.
Certainly. Scott Lucas and Giles Gibson, both, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on the show. We're completely out of time. We're slipping into a short break with all of this, our continued coverage here on WION. Stay with us.